99% of UK businesses are SMEs, which means the label tells you almost nothing. But understanding which kind of SME you are running and what that classification actually means for how your business grows changes everything about what you should be building right now. In this video, I'm going to give you the UK definition, the 3 categories inside it, and more usefully, what each one means for how your business actually behaves when it starts to grow. Most founders I've worked with, and I've sat inside organisations of every size over 30 years, from teams of 5 to global operations. Most founders know they run a small or medium business, but they've always experienced the SME label as an administrative category, something the bank asks about, something that happens on a government form. What they haven't had is a practical understanding of what that classification means for how their business actually needs to operate. There's a specific kind of friction that shows up when a founder-led business starts to grow. Things like cash flow becoming less predictable, things start slipping through, projects take longer, winning new business starts feeling inconsistent. These things are not random, they are structural. And one of the most common undiagnosed causes is that the business has crossed from one SME category into another, without the founder realizing that the operating model needed to change with it. So what is an SME? SME stands for Small and Medium-Sized Enterprise under the UK definition. An SME is any business with fewer than 250 employees and an annual turnover under £54 million. Within that umbrella, there are 3 distinct categories. The first is the micro. These are with a turnover threshold of under £1 million and less than 10 employees. The next is the small category, with a turnover threshold of under £15 million and less than 50 employees. Then there's the medium category, with a turnover threshold of under £45 million and is less than 250 employees. One thing worth noting, the British government updated these thresholds in April 2025. The bands shifted significantly. A small business now has a turnover limit of £15 million, up from £10 million. That matters for reporting obligations, tax relief eligibility, and government scheme access. I'll come back to that practical implication in a few minutes. Now here's the scale of what we're talking about. There are currently 5.9 million SMEs in the United Kingdom. That is 99.9% of all UK private sector businesses. They employ 16.9 million people. That's 60% of everyone working in the private sector in this country. Their combined turnover is £2.8 trillion. So when you call yourself a small business, which most founders do, almost apologetically, you are part of the structural backbone of the UK economy. Here's what the official classification doesn't tell you. The employee threshold tells you what size you are. It doesn't tell you anything about how to behave at that size or what changes when you cross from one category into the next. And that is where most founder-led businesses run into trouble. At under 10 people in a micro business, the operating model runs on proximity. The founder knows everything because everything is visible. Decisions happen in conversation. Problems surface quickly because of the team is small enough to appear informally. The whole business can fit in one room. That model works beautifully at that scale. The moment a business starts moving toward 20, 25, 30 people, something changes. The founder starts noticing things that slip through, a client communication that wasn't followed up, a project that went overtime without anyone flagging it early, cash that came in later than expected and nobody had quite seen it coming. These are not competence failings. The team has not suddenly become less capable. What has happened is that the business has grown past the point where proximity alone can carry it. And the informal systems that worked at 8 people cannot carry the weight of 18. And the jump from small to medium, from 50 toward 250 people, is even more significant. At that scale, a business has to run on structure, not because structure is bureaucracy, but because at that size, you cannot maintain quality, consistency, and growth through the founder's personal presence alone. The business needs its own operating system. Founders who understand this in advance, who know what kind of SME they currently are and what the next category demands, are the ones who scale without it costing them everything. Let's make this concrete. I want to describe 3 founders, and I want you to notice which one you recognize yourself in. The first is running a business of fewer than 10 people, 8 staff maybe, or 6, or just themselves and 3 others they trust completely. This founder is across everything. They know every client, they're involved in every significant decision, they know when things are going well and when they're not. Not because they have a reporting system, but because they can feel it. This business runs on the founder's relationships, judgment, and energy. And at this size, that is entirely appropriate. The proximity is a competitive advantage. It's why clients choose them. The risk is not visible yet. The risk is what happens when success creates the pressure to grow and the founder tries to take the same operating model into a business that has doubled in size. The second founder is running a business of 15 to 40 people, and something has shifted that they can't quite put their finger on. The business is busier than it has ever been. Revenue is growing, the team is larger. By an external measure, it is succeeding. But the founder is working harder than ever and yet feels less in control than they did at half the size. There are conversations happening in the business that they're not part of. Decisions are being made without them, sometimes well, sometimes not. They're hearing about problems after they've already become expensive. This is not a people problem. It is a structural problem. The business has grown past the point where informal coordination works and has not yet built the systems and processes to replace it. This founder is standing at the most important threshold in a founder-led business life, and most of them don't know it. The third founder is leading a business of 60 to 150 people. The top line looks strong. The business has survived, which is no small thing, but they carry a particular kind of exhaustion. The business is complicated in ways that feel disproportionate to its size. There are too many fires. Accountability is unclear. Some parts of the business run well and some parts seem to require constant attention without ever quite resolving. This is a business that has grown without fully building the structural layer, the management infrastructure that growth at this scale requires. The good news is that this is fixable. The infrastructure can be built, but it has to be built intentionally. And the founder has to be willing to move from being the person who makes every decision to being the person who builds the system that makes the decisions when they're not in the room. Here's something the official SME definition doesn't capture at all. 2 businesses can both be classified as small SMEs. 30 employees each, similar turnover, but one of them is founder-led. The other has a management structure and has partially separated the founder from day-to-day operational decisions. These are not the same type of businesses. They do not face the same growth challenges. Founder-led means the business's operating model is centered on the founder's judgment, relationships, and presence. The founder is the nervous system of the organization. Information flows through them, decisions flow from them. At small scale, this is a source of enormous strength. Clients trust the founder directly. Quality is personal. The culture is embodied. At larger scale or at growth pace, it becomes the constraint, not because the founder is incapable, but because one person cannot be the operating system for a business of 40, 60, or 100 people. The maths doesn't work. Recent data shows that 63% of UK founder-led businesses are unsure their business will survive the next 12 months. Nearly a quarter say they are not growing at all. And one of the most common undiagnosed causes, in my experience of working inside and alongside organizations for 30 years, is exactly this. The founder is still trying to run a 50-person business the way they ran it at 10. Understanding which SME category you're in and being honest about whether your operating model matches that category is where this series starts. In the next video, I'm going to go deeper on what founder-led actually means, not as a compliment, not as a criticism, but as a structural description of how your business is currently designed and why that design has a limit that you need to understand before you try to push it through. Before I close this video, I want to give you 3 things that your SME classification means practically, right now, regardless of where you are in your growth journey. The first is your regulatory and reporting obligations. Under the Companies Act, your filing requirements differ by size category. Micro and small businesses have lighter obligations, abbreviated accounts, reduced disclosure requirements. As you grow into medium, those obligations increase. The April 2025 threshold changes means some businesses will now find they've moved category without even realizing it. If you're not sure where you sit, it is worth checking because the compliance gap can be expensive. The second is your eligibility for government support and your tax obligations. On support, 43,615 SMEs made research and development tax relief claims in the most recent data year, but the scheme changed significantly from April 2024. The old separate SME scheme is gone, replaced by a merged scheme. If you've claimed before, the rules are different now. On tax obligations, here's a critical one for 2026. If the new April 2025 thresholds classify you as a small business, the responsibility for determining IR35 status for your contractors may have shifted. Your compliance obligations have changed. This is worth checking with your accountant. The third, and the one this channel is fundamentally about, is your operational model. The systems, processes, and management structures you need at 15 people are genuinely different from those you need at 50. What got you here will not get you there, and the earlier you understand which category you are heading toward, the earlier you can start building the infrastructure it requires, rather than retrofitting into it under pressure when things are already breaking. Let me bring this together. An SME is any UK business with fewer than 250 employees and a turnover under £54 million. Within that, there are 3 categories: micro, small, medium, each with different obligations, different entitlements, and most importantly, different operational requirements. 99 99.9% of UK businesses are SMEs. You are the majority, a significant, economically important majority. But the classification is not the point. The point is what it tells you about the business you are running right now and what you need to build for the business you are heading toward. If you're watching this as a founder, particularly if you're somewhere in that small business range, 15 to 45 people, and something in this video named something you've been experiencing without quite having the language for it, then this series is for you. Each video in this series will take one concept, one thing that founder-led businesses need to understand to grow sustainably, and explain it clearly. No jargon, no hustle culture, just a clear account of how businesses actually work and what you need to build for yours to keep working as it grows. If that's useful, subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one, which is about what founder-led actually means. One more thing. In the comments below, I'd like to know which of the 3 profiles did you recognize yourself in? Micro, small, or medium? And does that category you're in match how you're actually running the business is right now? Tell me below.